Welcome to Brand Lover, honest, real and lively conversations for flourishing entrepreneurs and budding business owners on a mission to cultivate a heartfelt brand that connects with their purpose-driven mission. My hope is that you walk away feeling inspired and refreshed with a weekly takeaway in your back pocket that you can apply to your life or business. So today I have a very special guest. Her name is Claire Magliulo, and I have practiced that surname several times, and hopefully I nailed it. Claire, did I nail it?
You
Awesome. So Claire has been in my circles for, oh my gosh, well over a year, I think.
Just over a
year. And I have had the pleasure of witnessing this incredible transformation in her, from sort of having a hobby business with a little bit of a hobby mindset to working through that. And now she's just like blossomed into this incredible boss lady with that growth business mindset, and she's unstoppable. So I'm going to hand over to Claire and let you all hear with her own words who she is, what she does. So welcome, Claire.
Thank you very much for having me. This is my first podcast, so I'm a little bit nervy.
I'm honoured.
I'm honoured to be here.
Oh, thank you. So tell us a little bit about you, like your personal life, if you whatever you'd like to share, and just tell us about your beautiful business and where you're at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So well, I'm Claire. I run a family photography business, primarily based in the southern Flinders ranges of South Australia. So beautiful scenery and just a beautiful community to work in. I was born and bred there, so I'm the daughter of fourth generation farmers.
Wow.
So spent my childhood kind of growing up on a farm and having, I guess, the knowledge of self-employment right from the beginning, sort of thing. So self-employment for me was always a goal.
Okay.
And then so I did my schooling in Port Pirie. I'm not lead based, it's all good. And then came down to Adelaide for a couple of years after school, and kind of tried the uni thing, wasn't really into it. My then boyfriend, who became my husband, had kind of expressed an interest in moving back to or moving up north. So he'd had a little bit of experience kind of visiting the area, and he was like, oh, I'd really like to live up there. And I was like, okay. So I had just started a psychology degree.
Wow.
Yeah, online. So I was like, oh, well, I can study anywhere. So let's move back. So we moved back, and that was about 10 years ago.
And was he a city boy?
Yeah, so he was born and bred in the city. And he has thrived as well. We love it up there. And
awesome.
So we did the marriage, house, now babies thing. So we have a little 2-year-old. And I guess continued studying as I was working. So initially I was working kind of in fast food hospitality.
Okay.
And moved into kind of the community services area. So I worked in youth work, and then left that. So my contract ended with that program, and I kind of went into more of a full-time study type of thing. And so that was in kind of 2014, 2015. And while I was at home studying, I was depressed, actually. Like I was really struggling just with being at home and not kind of having much interaction. I'm an introvert, but I really do enjoy being kind of involved with people.
Yeah, there's a connection element that I think all humans do need, regardless of their personality type.
Exactly.
That as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I kind of started playing around with my camera. I'd had a camera for a long time. My dad was quite interested in photography. My mum was interested in photography, and so I'd always had this kind of creative side of me that, like, I loved filming things on the farm and making up stories, and like I had this really kind of creative brain that I hadn't really explored. And so picked up my camera, decided that I was going to learn how to use it in manual, completely self-taught. I just kind of like practiced and practiced, and then decided that I would like to have a go at photographing people. So I enlisted the help of a couple of friends. I had two lots of couples, one who was very pregnant, and so I did a maternity shoot with her, and then a couple shoot with a couple of our good friends as well. And so it just kind of grew from there. I just kept working at it, and just did it on the side for many years. And so I had my son in 2019, and I was meant to go back to work in the April, I think it was. So the start of April 2020 was when I was due to go back to work, which obviously COVID kind of, that's when that came. So I was working from home with a 7-month-old who had just started pulling himself up on things. And it was quite stressful. I was finding the idea of running to someone else's schedule quite anxiety producing.
I get that too.
So I tried it for a month, and then I was kind of like, nah, I think it's time for me to give my photography business a little bit of a go. I had been in the process of kind of raising my prices from a low price point to a higher price point while I was on maternity leave. And then so I would say the start of my proper business was, the start of last financial year, so July of 2020. So
wow.
I met you in August.
Was it August? I was trying to figure out. So okay, so let's backtrack a little bit, because I know that for me, I have definitely had periods of pretty bad anxiety as well. And one of the things that I know now, because you learn things as you go, is the creativity component. If I'm not creating, and it doesn't necessarily need to be art based, but just, creating anything, and I realize now that back when I was in the trenches, when my girls were little, 4 under 4, anxiety was high because I wasn't getting much sleep, even just baking, creating something, and I didn't realize what I was doing at the time. And that's digressing into a whole nother story. But I guess, I really love that you found photography found you to sort of help to guide you through that. Is that sort of how it happened?
Definitely when I was in the trenches of studying, that was when it kind of first pulled me out of something. And I don't have very many memories of that. I just remember feeling like it's something that gave me a purpose. And I wasn't 100% sold on psychology. I was studying psychology because I loved how broad it was and how I could apply it to many different things, but I never had dreams of being a psychologist or even a counselor or anything like that. It was just my family was very insistent on a tertiary degree or a tertiary education, which I'm very grateful for now. But at the time I was just like, let's just pick something that I can apply to different things and whatever. And so having that creative thing to kind of sink my teeth into. And it's interesting as well, I actually really love the business side of it, and creating my website and kind of pushing myself in a way that I hadn't done before, and pushing myself to learn new things, because learning those new things was going to mean that I was successful. And putting yourself out there in a completely different way. I'm not a very kind of outgoing person. But when I'm photographing, I am. It's a very strange kind of.
And when you're on the reels, on the Instagram
and the reels,
she's a reels queen. So we'll talk about that later, maybe. Back on that whole the whole tertiary thing, I think that was a generational thing, because my parents were the same, and I know a lot of people in this sort of in this generation, it was finish school and go to uni, that was the goal, regardless of really what you wanted to do. It was at that point in our life, it was like you couldn't be successful or get a good job unless you had a uni degree. But now I feel like we're in this totally different mindset. Like our generation has changed that and like flipped this, or starting to flip the script. You know, like I don't even know if any of my girls will go to uni, and it will really just depend on what they're interested in. But yeah, it's just so much of your story I can relate to personally, and I think a lot of other people will as well, because you know, like when you're stuck, like when the reason that sort of anxiety sort of comes upon us is usually when we're feeling stuck, and it's like finding that catalyst to help take that first step, and you know, like to get out of that trench and like to keep moving forward. And it's that whole, you know, having that like creativity and the drive. And you spoke about the drive, and I think that being in business is just like the biggest personal development journey ever. Like it's constantly having your mindset challenged, you know, imposter syndrome like never before.
Oh my Lord.
It's like as soon as you make that decision to be a business owner, especially like I think especially an online entrepreneur, you know, like the digital space is completely different to going down the road and starting a bricks and mortar store. Like it's just different, and it's a different landscape, it's a different servicescape. And I know that you do your photography in person, but you promote a lot online.
Yeah, well, I just work from home, so I'm not a bricks and mortar business. I'm kind of in between, really. I'm a service-based business that's running online.
And so we're just like, we're faced with all of these different things that all of a sudden we have to learn. So I guess my next question is sort of like, so you made the decision when you sort of resigned from your position right in the middle of COVID with a baby at home. Then what?
I'm not sure that it was the smartest decision, no.
Well, you know, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and sometimes, you know, like if we did have hindsight in that moment, sometimes we wouldn't, you know, take the leaps that we do.
No. So then what? I made the decision. It was actually really interesting. I had like I said, I had just raised my prices, and I wasn't feeling confident in them at all. I was like, I don't have the right to charge this much. I was really, really struggling with it. And I had an opportunity presented to me to go into a network marketing business. And so I took that opportunity because I was feeling so like, I can't make this work. There's no way I can make this work. So I did that for about, I think it was 5 months in the end. And it's interesting to look back at that now and look at how much traction I lost in my business in that time, where I think, and I have nothing against network marketing. I think it works for the right people, but for me, I was not one of those people. Again, I had a lot of anxiety just for the fact that people were constantly following up on me. And I was a people pleaser, so I was trying to please all these people. And in the end, I was spending a lot more time on the network marketing business than I was on my actual business. And I ended up weighing it up and being like, okay, if I was actually spending this time on my actual business, what would I be making? Like, you know, what are the figures that I would when I weighed it up, I was like, what am I doing? And so I left the network marketing business, and I mean, like, it was difficult because I am a service-based business, and I really can't do my service online at all. I have to see people. So in the middle of all the COVID stuff, where I really couldn't shoot from kind of, I guess, March to, it was probably about June, I think. I did little bits and pieces, little shoots and whatever through that. But there was a lot of, I guess, uncertainty in the photography space because we were kind of like, can't we? Like, are we allowed to actually go out and do our service, even though like it's not an essential service, but we're really just, especially outdoor photography, we're just going for a walk, really. Like, you know, we're just hanging out.
Numbers, social distance. Yeah, exactly.
So, I guess when I finished doing the network marketing, and I kind of made the decision that this like, I have to put into this. I have to actually, I have to change something. I can't just wait for stuff to come to me as well. And so I kind of went on a bit of I'd say about a 12-month process of just learning as much as I could. So I enrolled in Brand Alchemy. That was my first investment that I made.
Wow.
And I had been, I guess, I felt like I already had quite a strong foundation, a strong reputation, but it's interesting, after Brand Alchemy, it was just, I thought of my business completely differently. I knew what I wanted, and I knew that I had the power to change what I wanted, not based on what other people were doing, but based on whether it felt right for my business and felt right for my future. And
I just got tingles. Makes me so happy.
That was a real game changer for me. And yeah, so then I actually invested in some mindset coaching, which has, like, I've spoken about kind of depression and anxiety already. Anxiety has been a steady in my life forever. I've always managed it. It's always been there, and something that I kind of just have to manage. And so I invested in some mindset coaching, and I have honestly never felt better after I finished that mindset coaching. And it wasn't even business based. Like, we touched on little bits and pieces of business stuff. Yeah. But it was 100% more about, like, me and kind of transitioning from the person I was before I became a mum to then the person I was as a mum, which was something that I had really struggled with. Yeah. So yeah, I invested in that. What else? Social media coaching, and also kind of marketing and general business, which mindset came up a lot in that.
As it does.
Yes. Yeah. So that was kind of the first 12 months of my business. And wow. Full disclosure, like, for anyone out there who is, I guess, in this process now where you're taking something that you have just run at a hobby level to wanting to actually produce an income. I haven't done all of my figures, but I'm pretty sure that my first year in business, I probably would have broken even. Yeah. And that was based on the fact that I invested a lot of money. Yeah. 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 And so that's something that, looking back, I'm like, oh, but I know that going forward, it's only going to serve me. Yes,
that's exactly right. Like, it's going to be exponential from here on in. And I think that's, it's certainly a mistake that I made in my very early years of business, is that I was too scared to spend any money. And it's funny, like, as soon as you start making the commitment, like, you really, like, laying that money on the table, you actually makes you more committed to making your business work, because you're invested all of a sudden, like, you've got stuff to lose. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like the sooner that you can invest in your business, and I'm so glad that the first thing you did was invest in your brand, because now and I know that it's like the most important thing to drive your whole business, as you said. But it doesn't, it shouldn't ever stop. And it's that constant sort of like leveling up, I guess, and just having that self-belief, like, it's almost just like proving to yourself time and time and time again, because imposter syndrome never goes away. So the more you grow, the more it grows. And it's like, and so I just think that that's such a huge I don't know, takeaway, is just, the fact that you recognized your gaps, and you were, you invested with the knowledge that even though you weren't making a profit right now, that it would come. And I think that's really exciting. So, so let's just like talk about brand, because we're brand lovers. So I guess, like, what was the biggest shift for you, coming into Brand Alchemy? I guess, like, why did you join? Like, what made you recognize that it was something that you needed to do?
I think it had a lot to do with comparison. So I found myself comparing a lot to photographers in my area, photographers elsewhere, and just having a real kind of confidence dip, where I was kind of like, oh, like, that was something that I was doing, or is that something I want to do? And I felt like I was kind of floundering around. And I guess I'd had a little bit of time off, like over maternity leave. So I felt going into maternity leave, I had quite good momentum in my business, but I missed out having 2 seasons of like the sort of spring summer, which is historically my busiest season. I do kind of sunset shoots at the beach, and they've always been my most popular session. And so I sort of came back to it in, you know, that April March sort of time, and I was trying to do things, and I was like, oh, but should I be doing this and should I be doing that? And I just didn't really have a clear cut idea of what I wanted. And actually one of my photographer friends locally, Tabitha Runkle, she had just gone through so she had just gone through Brand Alchemy the first time. I think it's the first
she
one
was in one of the very first rounds. I can't remember if it was the first or the second, but yes. That's lovely.
So I had caught up with her at actually a social media workshop, and I said, like, how was it? Because I had almost done the same round as Tabitha, and I was like, oh no, I'm not sure.
Yeah, on the fence.
And then I caught up with her, and I was like, okay, was it worth it? She's like, yes, you need to do it.
Oh, that's good. Cool. Okay. I'm glad you said that.
I went into it, and honestly, I wasn't 100% sold on it to begin with. I didn't know whether, like, and I guess because the way you talked about it was about, like, you know, if you're new in business and all that sort of thing, and getting a brand foundation right. And it felt very much like I was someone who had been running my business for a long time, but I kind of now have a bit of a different mindset around it. Is that, like, my hobby business started in 2015, but my actual business started in 2020. And so really I was starting a new business, and I thought that I honestly didn't know what I was going to get out of it, but when I got into it, I was like, whoa,
I get that a lot. I think it's like it's a tricky, like, I guess it's a tricky thing to explain. But it really does allow you to cast that vision and be okay with, you know, and be strong in that and be convicted in that, and know that that's your vision, that is, you know, in alignment with your own values and what you want for your life. And then all of these pieces fit together to, you know, create that alignment with your whole brand. And I've forgotten what I was saying then, but just even having that clarity and that end point helps when you are in that frame of comparison, you know, like when you get the Instagram scroll happening and you're seeing this person doing this and this person doing that. Still happens to me all the time. You know, like, what I'm doing in this field is different to anyone I know. And then I see other people doing stuff and I'm like, oh, maybe I should just be sticking to that, or I don't know, you know, it happens all the time. And so having this, like, super strong, solid foundation, like I can only speak from my own experience, but, you know, like, it's almost just like this coming back to be something to be able to ground you and sort of even just meditate on and remind yourself that, you know, this is your brand, no one else's, and have all those bits and, you know, pieces coming together to help you communicate it in the right ways. I don't know, to me it's a huge gift, but I guess so I guess after having done Brand Alchemy, like, what was your perception at the end, you know, like perception of branding at the start compared to, like, at the end of the course?
Yeah, I guess when you say branding, you do automatically think like logo colors and all that sort of thing. But for me now, a brand is just the kind of everything that underpins the business. Like, you know, the visual elements of your brand are important, but I think the foundation is is the most important part. And you know, knowing what my goals are and what my vision was and what my mission was, it made it easier for me to say no to things that were not in line with that, which, you know, as business owners, we often just say yes to everything because, you know, you don't want to say no to work and all that sort of thing. But having the strong foundation to go, well, actually, is this in in line with what I want and the business that I'm trying to create. And I guess the knowledge as well, like, you know, you go through the goal setting and what do I want this to look like in 5 years? What do I want this to look like in 10 years? And knowing that, you know, what we do now actually feeds into all of that. And, you know, while you're looking at someone who might be 10 years down their road and, you know, they've already done all these little bits and pieces, and you're looking at it and going, oh, why can't I be there now? And, and all that sort of thing. Like, it just, it really broke it down for me and made me focus on what I was doing more than what other people were doing. And it's been a huge confidence boost for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. And, you know, like it's as I said, like, I think that, you know, this foundation, you know, when you start a business, it's all very exciting and, you know, like you want to just get out, as you say, like you want to be that in 10 years time. So you tend to sort of skip all this stuff. I don't need that. I don't need to do that. I don't even know what that is. I'm just going to skip it. And then you find yourself kind of like in this position where you've created this business that you don't really, like, no one really knows what you do, or you don't even know what you do anymore. And so I think that being able to articulate is incredibly helpful. But, you know, so now you've sort of like, that was the start for you. What are, like, since you've got, you know, so the result of Brand Alchemy is the brand guide. So like, as a result of that, like, have you actually used it? Like, are there situations that you can give as examples where you've actually come back to your brand guide to help you through a tricky spot or to guide you in some kind of way?
I wouldn't say there's like specific examples, but I think just in general, when I think about, you know, the types of people that I'm trying to serve, like, so my brand vibe is like supportive and encouraging. So I'm really trying to create that supportive, encouraging environment to have your photos taken in. And, you know, so that means that my ideal client isn't necessarily someone who is like super confident in themselves and really outgoing and all that sort of thing. It might be the people who are, you know, not feeling comfortable in front of the camera and giving them the gift of having family photos in that supportive and encouraging environment. But before that, I might have been looking at the confident people and going, well, they're the people who are going to pay me. But do you know what I mean? Like, it just underpins everything that you do. And even like, you know, the copy on my website, you know, kind of reworking that and having the brand guide next to it and being like, okay, well, how does this work? Is this the right language for the people that I'm trying to reach? And that sort of thing. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. Oh, well, it does to me. Yes, it does, because I mean, it's a treasure trove of a document, you know, like the thing is, like, once you complete it, it sort of just becomes part of your whole business operations and marketing, you know, like it should just be, you know, a constant reference. And I think that was a beautiful way to explain it.
I do have a specific example, actually.
Oh, cool.
Well, I don't know if it's an example. It's not an example exactly of like, you know, within my business, but in my office, I have a pin-up board with all bits and pieces on it, and I have my brand values listed.
Yes.
So that I can see them every single day.
Yes.
And so they are the drivers behind like how I'm running my business, how I'm like the experience that I'm giving, and how I'm showing up on social media as well. So like one of my brand values is actually genuine. And, you know, there's been times where I have shown up really quite raw you know, with my son. So I had a reel where I was talking about being a mum and I want to be a dad now or something like that. And, you know, my son was like kicking me in the, in the stomach or something like that. And, you know, there's been times where I've kind of been like, oh, that's not really related to photography. And, but at the end of the day, you are your brand as well as, you know, your business is your brand. And when I think about, you know, my ideal client being that kind of person who might need that little bit of encouragement, I want to be genuine.
Yeah.
I don't want to pretend that like things are happy and dandy. I have a toddler. Things are not happy and dandy. Like, you know, so
yeah, and she'll relate to that. That's the thing. Like it's relatable content, and it doesn't. I think that's a really awesome thing to point out, is that like all of your content is particularly on social media, because most social media is a social, like it's a place of connection. And yeah, we use it to promote our brands and our offers and that sort of thing. But primarily, it is really a social platform. And so I think that's great that you've sort of leaned into that, and, you know, like it's, you know, creating that whole like, no trust factor, like, you know, like they will see that and they'll relate to that, and, you know, and then they'll sort of be like, oh, what does she do? And then, you know, like it's the instigation type content. It's like, it's that making a friend type thing.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I love that you've consciously thought about that, and it's not just, oh, what am I going to put up today, I'm just going to do this funny thing. It's that like you do have these awesome funny reels that I love. So we'll share your Instagram handle in a minute, but yeah, and I love that that's intentional, and it's not just you trying to, like, I don't know, you know, like
post something actually on a day because I'm not
exactly anything. Well, exactly. Anyway, so so I mean, have you got any tips for somebody who is maybe in that hobby stage, or maybe they've got a job and a little side hustle that they like, you know, they desperately would love to grow? What's your biggest, I don't know, if you've got 3, that would be cool, but just, you know, some tips to share now that you have all this wisdom.
So don't be afraid to invest in yourself and your business. I don't think you will ever regret learning from other people who have already been where you are, or you know, who have knowledge that you don't. And you, like, even though we're kind of sole business owners most of the time, you don't have to go it alone. Like, you don't have to figure it all out on your own. And I think if you can find the right mentors and the right community around you, it's such a different experience than if you were trying to kind of do it all on your own. And then mindset is so important. If you're not working on your mindset, then you are missing out. I admittedly have not been doing this very well lately, but I try and journal every single night, and really kind of intentionally journal. It's not like a flood of kind of negative thoughts or anything like that to get it out. It's about going, okay, how do I feel and what do I want to create? And I have a certain kind of number of affirmations that I repeat to myself every day, and that has been huge for me.
I love that.
Yeah, actually, so I do a little bit of branding photography. I've kind of sort of started dipping my toe in that, and one of the little gifts that I've given my clients so far is a little affirmation journal. You know, it's just something from Kmart, or something that I've printed and you know, put something in there for them. But the idea is that, you know, you create a fear, or you pick a fear out that you're worried about. So for example, I'm not going to have enough clients or customers or something like that, and you flip it and you put it into a positive. It's actually something that I learned from one of my mentors, and you put it into a positive affirmation. So you know, I'm always attracting new work to me, and that sort of thing, and just write it down and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, and the brain kind of rewires to believe it. So mindset's everything. And it might be a bit cliche given we're on a brand lover podcast, but knowing your brand is so important.
We're here.
Having those brand foundations, I cannot recommend that enough. Knowing what you want to do with your business is going to be really important for you going forward.
Taking the time to actually spend some intentional time and discover those things is super. Like, it will carry you so much further, and I love that. I could so many things that I want to say, but it's probably time to wrap up. So thank you so much for being with me today. I'm sure that many people will get so much out of this. So tell us, where can we find you? Where can we find Claire Magliulo.
You've done well.
Magliulo.
So I'm on Facebook and Instagram. My Instagram handle is @CountryMadeImages, and it's the same on Facebook, except the business name is Country Made Images by Claire. And so like you say, I post some funny reels every now and then.
Just go follow Claire for her Instagram reels, because I mean, she's nailing it. Don't compare hers to mine, because mine
I am not afraid to show up in my pajamas.
I love that about you. That's something I haven't done yet.
But yeah, so that's where I'm at primarily. And I spend probably a lot of time on stories. I neglect my feed a little bit sometimes, but that's something I need to work on. But so I love connecting with people. And
that's it. Is that like the Instagram stories is that whole connection place, isn't it? That's where I don't know. I tend to do the same thing, to be honest. But yay! All right, thank you so much for that. And so go say hi to Claire. And I'm sure that like if you want to have a chat with her or ask any questions about her journey, or what she would recommend, then I'm sure she would love to have you in her DMs. So thanks.
Absolutely.
Claire.
No worries. Thanks, Rach.
If you loved listening to this week's episode, pretty please click subscribe so that you don't miss any future podcasts. Also, if you have just a minute, please feel free to leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening. I'd so appreciate it, and it will help spread this message further. Thanks for being here. I'll catch you next week.